Chapter 9. The Reporter. Barry Muldono was pleased with his new lawyer. He was clever, and he was quick. When the lawyer showed him a copy of the Memphis newspaper, Barry went to see his Uncle Johnny. Johnny was head of the mafia in New Orleans, and it was time for Barry to explain a few things. First, he explained about the senator's body. Uncle Johnny was not amused. Then he explained about telling Jerome Clifford.
"So what?" said Johnny. "Clifford's dead now."
Then Barry explained about the two boys who found him.
"What if Romy told them about the body?"
said Barry. Uncle Johnny became angry.
"You've done a stupid thing, Barry," he said. "Now, what are you going to do about it?"
"I need to send a killer to Memphis," said the Blade.
"You're going to kill the boys?" asked his uncle.
"Maybe yes, maybe no," said Barry. "First, we need to know if they know something."
"Send Gronky,"
said his uncle. Back in Memphis, Slick Moeller was pleased with his work. The morning newspaper carried his first story about Clifford's death. Now he wanted more news. Slick walked around the hospital looking for people who would talk to him. He found a cleaner. The cleaner was pleased to talk to a reporter and told him which room the boys were in. He also told him the police had been there.
"The FBI have been here all day, too," said the cleaner. "And now the family's got a lawyer. Reggie is someone. Don't know his other name."
Slick waited near Ricky's room until Mark came out.
"How's your brother?"
he asked in a friendly way. "He's doing great," said Mark. "Who are you?"
"I'm a reporter," said Slick. "I'm working on a story about Clifford. The cops say you know more about it than you're telling."
"When's the story coming out?" asked Mark.
"Maybe tomorrow," said Slick.
Mark felt sick. "I'm not answering any questions."
"That's fine,"
said Slick, and walked away. Mark sat down in a quiet corner and began to cry. Ricky was quiet again. His thumb was back in his mouth, and his eyes were closed. Diane turned as Mark came into the room. "Who's this lawyer, Mark?" she asked. "Why do we need her?" "I'm frightened, Mom. There are cops all over the place, and the FBI, and now there are reporters wanting to talk to me. We need a lawyer." "Lawyers don't work for nothing, Mark." "Don't worry, Mom. I paid her $1. "She's working for $1? She must be a great lawyer. What has she done so far?" "She met the FBI today, and she's meeting them again now. She's coming to talk to you tonight." "Mom, I need to tell you some things about me and Ricky." And Mark told Diane what he and Ricky had seen. "That's why Ricky's in shock," said Mark. "Will you explain to Dr. Greenway? It might help him to help Ricky." "Okay," said Diane. "You've done nothing wrong trying to help that man. But why did you lie to the doctor?" "Tell him I only just remembered," said Mark. "Tell him I was in shock, too, a bit like Ricky. But now I remember." "I'll tell him," said Diane. Chapter 10. The Mafia arrive. The photos in Wednesday's newspaper were from the Willow Road school book. They were a year old, but they were the best Slick could find. Under the photos were their names: Mark Sway, Ricky Sway. The story told more about Clifford's death and said Ricky was in shock at St. Peter's Hospital. The story also said a lot about Mark: how he called 911 but didn't give his name, about his fingerprints in the car, and about the FBI wanting to talk to him.
"You're famous,"
said a nurse, giving Mark the newspaper.
"What is it?"
said Mark, suddenly seeing his own face. He read the story slowly. This is bad, he thought. Now the Mafia knows where to find me. Mark was on his way to the cafe for breakfast. He gave the paper back and walked to the lift. The door opened, and he stepped in. It was empty. It was still early. At floor number 8, the lift stopped and a man stepped in. He wore a white coat and jeans. Mark didn't look at him. He was tired of meeting new people. The door closed, and suddenly the man grabbed Mark. He had a knife. He pushed his horrible face near Mark's.
"Listen to me, Mark Sway,"
he said.
"I don't know what Jerome Clifford told you, but if you repeat a single word of it, even to your lawyer, I'll kill you. And I'll kill your mother and your little brother."
Gronky was doing his job well. Mark was white with fear.
"I know where you live," continued the man, "and I know where you go to school. You can't escape me. Understand?"
Mark's eyes were suddenly wet. He nodded. Yes, yes, yes. The lift was stopping again.
"And if you tell anyone about me, I'll get you,"
said the man. And he disappeared. Reggie reached her office at 9. Clint made her a cup of coffee and gave her the morning newspaper.
"Coffee's excellent,"
she said, as she opened the paper and saw Mark's picture. Suddenly, Mark himself was in the room, wet from the rain and out of breath.
"What's the matter, Mark?"
she asked.
"How's Ricky?"
"He's okay," said Mark.
"Have you seen today's paper?"
"I've just read it," she said. "Does it worry you?"
"Of course it does."
Clint came into the room with a hot drink for Mark. Mark thanked him and warmed his hands on the cup. "Are you ready to meet the FBI at 10? Asked Reggie.
"I'm not sure I want to talk to them."
"Okay, you don't have to."
"You look frightened. Why?"
"What would happen to me if I never told anyone what I know?" "You've told me."
"Yes, but you're my lawyer, and I haven't told you everything. Not where the body is."
"I know, Mark."
"So, what happens if I never tell?"
Reggie had been thinking about this all night, but she still had no answer. Yesterday afternoon, when she met Foltrig, she saw that he would try everything possible to get Mark to talk. A lie could save Mark. One simple lie. But she was a lawyer, and she could not advise him to lie. Poor kid. "I think they'll try to make you talk," she said at last. "It's very rare, but I think the law can make you tell what you know to a judge." "And if I refuse?" Good question, Mark. If you were an adult, you could go to prison. I don't know what they'd do with a child, but if you lie to the judge, you could be in big trouble. If I tell the truth, I'm in bigger trouble. Why? Mark didn't answer. Mark, at the hospital last night, you told me you were ready to talk to the FBI and tell them your story. Now you've changed your mind. Why? What's happened? Mark gently put his cup on the table, covered his face, and began to cry. Until 10 o'clock, Roy Foltrig was in an excellent mood. All yesterday afternoon, his men had been finding information about Reggie Love. They knew she used to be married to a rich doctor. They knew the doctor had left her. And they knew that she had started drinking heavily and taking drugs, so the doctor was able to take her children from her. Now she had no husband, no children, and no money. And a new name. Roy Foltrig thought he could use this information against Reggie. Foltrig's job was to prove that Barry Muldanno had killed the senator. He was sure that Mark knew something that would help him. Then he would win the case and have his face on the front pages of the newspapers again. At 10 o'clock, Foltrig returned to Reggie's office, ready for the promised meeting with Mark. Clint opened the door to him. "I'm sorry, Mr. Foltrig," he said. "Reggie and Mark have nothing to discuss today." Foltrig shouted angrily, then left, banging the door. He went straight to the FBI office and shouted some more. "I want the kid followed," he said angrily. "We know Gronky's in town. He mustn't get to the kid. Watch the lawyer, too. And I want you to prepare papers to take to a judge. We're going to make Mark Sway talk."